Have you ever wondered what history would look like if the Nazis' craziest plans had actually worked? Imagine German astronauts planting a swastika on the moon. Picture London drowning in clouds of toxic gas, or New York City turned to dust by a 100-meter-long supercannon. These aren't movie scripts. These were real plans, drawn up by Nazi scientists, engineers, and dreamers during World War II. And thank the stars, most of them never happened. Today, we're diving deep into the strangest, most insane Nazi plans that history narrowly escaped. Buckle up, because this is going to get dark, bizarre, and unbelievable. Let's start with something straight out of a James Bond villain's dream. The V3 cannon, nicknamed Hitler's Supergun. This monster weapon was supposed to fire shells all the way from France to London, over 100 miles away. Each shell was nearly the size of a small car, and the cannon itself stretched longer than a football field. Hitler's engineers believed it would devastate London without a single plane or soldier crossing the channel. They even started building it inside a secret underground base in northern France. But here's where it gets wild. Before it could ever fire, British bombers destroyed the site using tall boy earthquake bombs. Only a few test shots were ever fired. If this thing had worked, it could have changed the course of the air war. But in the end, it became just another symbol of Nazi overconfidence and desperation. Next, we move to Operation Sea Lion, Hitler's long-awaited invasion of Britain. After conquering France, he wanted to march right into London and raise the Nazi flag over Buckingham Palace. But there was one massive problem: the English Channel. The German Navy wasn't prepared for a full-scale sea invasion, and the Royal Air Force stood in their way. Hitler planned to use paratroopers, amphibious tanks, and thousands of boats to storm the British coast. But after the Battle of Britain, where German planes were shredded by British Spitfires, the invasion dream sank. Sea Lion never launched. Instead of conquering Britain, Hitler's attention turned east, towards the Soviet Union, and the rest is history. Still, imagine what might have happened if the weather, luck, or strategy had turned differently. Europe might look very different today. Now this one sounds like a Hollywood spy thriller. In 1943, Nazi intelligence planned Operation Long Jump, a secret mission to assassinate Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin, all in one go. The meeting of the Big Three in Tehran, Iran, was heavily guarded, but Hitler's spies thought they could pull it off. They trained a team of elite commandos to parachute into Tehran, infiltrate the Soviet security cordon, and kill all three Allied leaders. But Soviet counterintelligence, led by the legendary spy Nikolai Kuznetsov, discovered the plot before it even began. The plan was scrapped, the agents captured, and the biggest assassination attempt in history vanished before it started. Had it worked, World War II might have taken a horrifying turn. Now, get ready for something truly out of this world. Deep within Nazi scientific circles, there were wild dreams of space exploration and even a Nazi moon base. Yes, you heard that right. German rocket scientists like Wernher von Braun were obsessed with reaching beyond Earth. Their V-2 rockets, which bombarded London, were actually the world's first long-range guided missiles. The same technology that later powered America's Apollo program. Rumors and declassified documents suggest that some Nazi scientists seriously imagined using V-2 tech to hit targets across the Atlantic and eventually to travel into orbit. It sounds ridiculous now, but in 1944, these ideas were on the drawing board. Of course, the Third Reich collapsed before any of it could materialize. Ironically, many of those same scientists later worked for NASA under Operation Paperclip, helping the US land on the moon. Not the Nazis. If you think modern tanks are big, wait till you hear about the Landkreuzer P-10,000 Ratte. It was a tank so enormous, it could crush smaller tanks under its treads. We're talking about 1,000 tons of steel, 2 naval cannons mounted on top, and a crew of over 40 men. The Ratte would have been 35 meters long, basically a moving fortress. It was supposed to destroy anything in its path and make the battlefield quake under its weight. But here's the twist. Even Hitler's own engineers said it was too absurd. It would have been impossible to move across bridges, roads, or even fields without sinking. The project was eventually scrapped, but blueprints still survive. Proof that Nazi engineers were willing to dream on a terrifying scale. Most people think of Switzerland as neutral during World War II, safe and untouched. But Hitler had other ideas. In 1940, Germany and Italy drew up Operation Tannenbaum, a plan to invade Switzerland and seize its gold reserves and strategic mountain passes. They gathered over 300,000 troops for the operation, ready to storm the Alps. But something strange happened. Hitler backed off. He feared it would be too costly. So, instead of a Nazi invasion, the Swiss quietly armed themselves and prepared for the worst. But the plan died on paper. Just when you think it can't get crazier, here comes the sun gun. This was an idea from Nazi scientists who wanted to build a giant mirror in space that could focus sunlight and burn cities on Earth. Yes! Basically a giant death ray. The idea was proposed by a team at the German Orbital Weapons Laboratory in 1945. They calculated that a 9-square-kilometer mirror could reflect enough sunlight to set entire regions ablaze. It sounds like science fiction, but they were dead serious. Thankfully, the war ended long before this nightmare could even begin construction. Still, it shows just how far Nazi scientists were willing to go to dominate the world, even from space. In 1942, the Nazis launched Operation Pastorius, an attempt to bring the war directly to American soil. 8 German agents were smuggled into the U.S. by submarine, armed with explosives and cash, tasked with blowing up factories, railroads, and bridges. But the mission collapsed almost immediately. 2 of the agents got cold feet and went straight to the FBI, revealing everything. Within weeks, all 8 were captured, and 6 were executed. Hitler's dream of striking America from within died before it began. From moon bases to monster tanks, from super cannons to death rays, these were real Nazi dreams. Thankfully, history took a different turn. Most of these plans stayed locked in blueprints, buried under rubble, or ended up fueling science for a better world instead of a darker one. Sometimes, history's greatest what-ifs remind us of how close the world came to the edge. And how fortunate we are that these strange Nazi plans never happened.